In any other year, we'd be celebrating a brand new national champion. This year, instead, we celebrate by welcoming Shon Morris to the Zoom community. Shon, you know I love you, you know I miss you, but I'll be honest, I don't really think that's necessarily a fair trade for basketball fans.
You take what you can get at this point, Rick, and this is exactly why Al Gore invented the internet, so I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, listen, there are a lot of teams that are really disappointed that the NCAA tournament didn't happen this year. Let's focus on some Big Ten teams that are extremely down because they were set to make a long-awaited return to the tournament. I know you were a huge fan of what Rutgers and specifically Coach Steve Pikiell did this year, and they have a lot to look forward to moving forward as well.
They really do, Rick. I mean, you take a look at what they have coming back. They lose Kwasi Yeboah. That's a big loss. He was a nice fifth-year graduate transfer from them. But you get Ron Harper Jr. back. You have Geo Baker back. Miles Johnson led the conference in field goal percentage. And then defensively, they were just lights out as they have been throughout his whole tenure. They were in the top 4 in the conference in field goal percentage defense, defending the 3, as well as scoring defense. And it started to pay some real dividends for them on the recruiting front. They've just closed one of their biggest recruits that they've been able to secure in the last 20 years. So you throw in the fact that they've become a little bit more potent on the offensive end, and if they're able to maintain that defensive intensity, a lot to like in Piscataway.
Yeah, clearly an upward trajectory. You mentioned the recruit Cliff Omarui committing to Rutgers, a huge get for Steve Pikiell, and really signifies exactly what they are building on the banks. Another team that is building a team that made a jump that I think was a little bit more expected this year, that was Illinois, but there could be some transition for Brad Underwood. His team doesn't get to enjoy the NCAA tournament. And Shon, it's a team that as good as it was in 2019-20 could look very different in 2020-2021.
A little bit of uncertainty in Illinois as they enter the offseason. First, one thing they know for sure, Rick, is the fact that Alan Griffin will not be shooting three-point shots in Champaign. He entered the transfer portal, his ultimate destination now ending up at Syracuse. And then a little bit more uncertainty on the inside with the big man Kofi Coburn. He's entered his name in the NBA draft process. He certainly has the opportunity to pull his name out of that, but his ability to impact the game on both ends of the floor, defensively, rebounding the ball, will be something to keep an eye on for Illinois as we continue into the offseason. Still a lot to like in Champaign, most notably on the perimeter. Even though this was not a really good three-point shooting team a year ago, they had a couple players sitting out last year with transfers who should be able to remedy that situation. Jacob Grandison, a transfer in from Holy Cross, 37% from behind the arc during his 2 years in Holy Cross. And then Austin Hutchinson, somebody I think people are going to really like his ability to put the ball on the floor, 20 points per ball game at the Division III level. But most importantly for Illinois, a 39% shooter from behind the arc. And they will need that kind of certainty because of the uncertainty of Ayo Dosunmu and what his decision will be regarding the NBA draft process.
Yeah, the Ayo Dosunmu news will obviously affect exactly how Brad Underwood sets that team up for next season. We know there are some key departures for a third Big Ten team that was set to head back to the NCAA tournament, and that's Penn State. Patrick Chambers has done a terrific job, and it all started with his recruiting of the Philadelphia area and getting great players in, but now several of those players are done eligibility-wise, and so it'll be an interesting watch for Penn State next season to see how you make up for the losses of guys like Mike Watkins and more specifically Lamar Stevens.
And Rick, I think it'll show in how they decide to play. I mean, if you go back and rewind the clock a little bit, I'm not going to be surprised if Penn State in this upcoming season plays a little bit like we saw Purdue play about 2 or 3 years ago when they had the real big Isaac Haas kid inside and they surround him with 4 shooters. In this case, John Hara is not nearly as potent offensively as Isaac Haas, but the thought is still the same. Really solid post player, and then you can surround him with some outstanding jump shooters. This is a team that I think will spread the floor a lot more than maybe they have in the past, because in Myron Jones and Miles Dredd, you have 2 of the top 5 returning scorers in terms of made threes per ball game. You also have Isaiah Brockington, who can really get to the rim off the dribble. And don't forget Seth Lundy, who got inserted into the starting lineup, an outstanding three-point shooter. And they just picked up a transfer from Binghamton, a kid named Sam Sessions. Now, if he's able to get eligible, he led the America East last year in scoring from Binghamton. So it depends on if he's able to become eligible immediately. But this is a team I think will spread the floor a lot because so much, and deservedly so, went through Lamar Stevens. They'll play differently. I still think they'll be an outstanding team, especially on the defensive end with Jamari Wheeler returning as well.
I love it. Shon Morris helping take us full circle. People say, well, the America East. What's the America East? We started by talking about Steve Peichel, who came from the America East, and Stony Brook now doing great things at Rutgers. Maybe some help on the way from that conference to Penn State as well. Shon, my friend, most importantly, best to you and yours. Stay healthy. I can't wait to do this again in person sometime very soon.
Thanks a lot. Right back at you, my friend.